Hey everyone, so in this camera comparison, I've got the Xiaomi 17 Global Edition up against the Samsung Galaxy S25. Now these are the base models in each of these manufacturers' flagship phone series. And the Xiaomi is working with a triple 50 megapixel camera setup on the rear, and the Samsung is working with a 50 megapixel main sensor as well, but a 10 megapixel telephoto sensor and a 12 megapixel ultra wide angle camera. Now the Xiaomi has the larger main sensor at 1/1.31 inches, which is closer to a flagship sensor size, while the Samsung is working with closer to a mid-range sensor size at 1/1.56 inches. The Xiaomi has the larger telephoto sensor as well at 1/2.76 inches, while the Samsung has a much smaller telephoto sensor at 1/3.94 inches. Now the Samsung does have the edge in the ultra wide angle camera, which is a wider field of view and a slightly wider sensor. And the Xiaomi has the 50 megapixel selfie camera as well, compared to the 12 megapixel selfie sensor on the Samsung. And even though these are not labeled as pro level phones, they do have pro camera features such as RAW format for photography and log video, which is what you're seeing right now. This allows you to color correct and color grade the footage so you can dial in the colors that you really want. And they also support pro camera modes, so you can really dial in your footage for both photos and videos. All right, and so with all that being said, with all the specs out of the way, what really matters is the quality that the cameras produce and what it really looks like. So like I always do, I'm gonna show you a bunch of photos and videos in both good and low light conditions to help you decide which of these two camera systems might be best for your smartphone camera needs. So go ahead and take a look at all the photos and videos and let me know what you think. Hey everyone, so here's a video test of the rear cameras of the Xiaomi 17 versus the Samsung Galaxy S25. And as you can see, they both are recording from the rear facing cameras. And I'm starting out with the ultra wide angle cameras on each at 4K 60 frames per second. So this is the ultra wide angle camera, and off the bat you'll notice that the S25 has the wider field of view. It can fit more in the frame than the Xiaomi can. So I'm just going to pan around here to give you a side-by-side comparison of how these ultra wide angle cameras look here in this setting in the park with all the greens, blues, and everything else. Very sunny day, not much clouds, but lots of nice colors. You can see the red shed over there, so all the main colors you want to be able to check and compare. And so we'll go ahead and into the main lenses right now on the Xiaomi and on the S25. So now these are the main cameras, and I'll do the same thing. I'll just pan around to give you a side-by-side view of how these main cameras look in this exact same setting here, how the cameras treat the exposure with the shades and the shadows, and how it may re-expose here now that you come back to the light. Well, let's go here and pan over to the right, and we'll test the zoom out on that cell tower. So we have the 2.6x telephoto on the Xiaomi, 3x telephoto here on the S25, and the Xiaomi can move all the way into a max 15x zoom. So let's go all the way up here, 15x, and then the Samsung can go all the way up into a 12x zoom there. So side by side, the Samsung actually looks a little bit clearer in the digital zoom cleanup, but they're both nice and steady here at this fairly decently long focal length. And we'll move back into the main lens. So there you go with the Samsung, and now with the Xiaomi. And we'll test autofocus on the post with the Xiaomi 17 first. So focus is up and away. And one more time, focused up, refocus again. There you go. And now with S25, so let's do focus and away, refocus. Maybe a little quicker on the S25, but it is tough here with the shade and then light contrast. But let's go ahead and move down the stairs to test the stabilization. So you can see as I walk down the stairs into the pathway what the stabilization looks like here side by side. And I'll go ahead and try to stress out that stabilization here. So there you go, a quick 4K video test here of the rear cameras on the Xiaomi 17 and the Galaxy S25. Yeah, so we're back in the same spot, this time shooting in log video. So this is still 4K 60 frames per second log video. And in this mode, you cannot switch between the lenses on either. So this is the main camera on each. And what's nice is that they both do support log video, even though they're both not labeled pro or ultra level phones. Shooting in log allows you to color correct or color grade the footage to get the exact colors or the look you're kind of going for with your video. So a little more control in post-production. So I'm just panning around the same spot to give you a side-by-side view of how these look here, shot in log and probably color corrected or graded by now, by the time you're seeing it. But I'll just go ahead and just walk so we get kind of maybe a similar view to the auto footage you just saw before. But let me know what you think about this log video footage and how that compares to the auto footage that you had just seen prior to this. Hey everyone, so we're back with the rear cameras, this time at portrait video on each. So you should be seeing this artificial background blur right now, and that is fully adjustable. On the Samsung it is set to a 7 out of 7, and on the Xiaomi it's the widest aperture possible, so you can adjust the f-stop to be a little bit less blurry if you want. And the sun is shining more directly on me off my left, so this is some pretty ideal lighting conditions for this effect. It should be pretty even for the exposure, as well as this effect does require a good amount of light. But I'll just start panning around to give you an idea of how this picture quality holds up and how the background effect holds up as the lighting conditions change. It's more directly into those cameras right now. And if I keep panning around, now the sun will be off my right. And if I keep panning around this way, it'll be shining directly on me. So this might actually be the best possible quality with it shining more directly onto me here. But I'll keep going all the way around so we end up where we started. and I'll just walk to try to test out the stabilization as well as show you how this background effect holds up with some movement. So let me know what you think about this portrait video on the rear cameras of the Xiaomi 17 and Galaxy S25. Alright, so here's our front-facing video test of the Xiaomi 17 and Galaxy S25. This is being shot at 4K 60 frames per second on each. And so obviously I'm outdoors, it's pretty sunny. The sun is actually coming off my left that way. So this is some pretty ideal lighting conditions right now. Everything should be looking pretty even as far as exposure. But I'll just start panning around to give you a view of how everything looks as the lighting conditions start to change. With it going more behind me right now, you can see it in the back and more into the cameras right now and how that looks there. And I'll just keep panning around to give you a view of how everything looks as it continues to change now off my right. And we'll keep going this way so that it is now shining more directly on me. And then we'll come back to where we were. And I'll just start walking so we can test the stabilization and show you what that looks like here side by side. So let me know what you think about this video footage from the front-facing cameras on the Xiaomi 17 and Galaxy S25. Okay, so we're back with the front-facing cameras, this time at portrait video on each. So you should be seeing this artificial background blur right now. And they're both fully adjustable as far as this blur effect. So on the Samsung, it is set to a 7 out of 7, so you can decrease this down if you want. And on the Xiaomi, this is set to a max wide aperture. You can adjust that f-stop to be less blurry if you want as well. And so I'm in the same spot, so the sun is shining off my left, a little bit more on me, so this should be looking the best possible exposure, as well as the background effect, because it does require a good amount of light. But I'll keep panning around like I did before to show you how this background effect holds up and how the picture quality changes now with the sun more directly behind me and shining into the cameras. And I'll keep panning around so that it is now more off my right. And if I keep going around, this will be more shining directly on me right now. So this might actually look a little bit better with the light directly on my face. And if I pan all the way back around this way, I'll just start walking so we can test the stabilization and show you how this background effect holds up with some movement. So let me know what you think about the portrait video here on the front-facing cameras of the Xiaomi 17 and Galaxy S25. So here's a low light video test of the rear cameras of the Xiaomi 17 and Galaxy S25. This is the ultra wide angle cameras to start out on each at 4K 60 frames per second. So I'm just going to pan around so you get a side-by-side view of these ultra wide angle cameras in this particular setting at night. As you can see, the Xiaomi is much darker and has a narrower field of view. It can fit less in the frame than the S25, but they're both fairly dark. Since these ultra wide angle sensors are smaller sensors, they let in less light. But we can go ahead and move into the main cameras on each, on the Xiaomi and on the S25. And so you can see they both really brighten things up with these main cameras. The sensors are much larger, so they let in a lot more light. So just do the same thing, pan around here so you get a side-by-side view of the main cameras. And we can even test out the zoom. So telephoto on the Xiaomi and 3x telephoto here on the Samsung. So much darker on the Samsung because the telephoto sensor is smaller than the Xiaomi's telephoto sensor. And we can go into a max, let's see here, 15x it should be, yep, on the Xiaomi, and we get a max, what is it, 12x here on the Samsung, but brighter and a little more clear here at this zoom on the Xiaomi than the Samsung. And so we'll back them out on the Samsung and on the Xiaomi, and we'll just pan around here and start walking so we can test the stabilization, as well as show you what it looks like here with less light. So obviously there's a decent amount of lighting over there, but right now there's just lighting coming off the building off my left, and as we get to this pathway around the corner, there'll be a lot less light. It'll be much darker. So you can see what that looks like with less light, but both these cameras are going to try to brighten up everything as much as possible. But right around the corner here, now there's a lot less light. There's no pathway light here. And you pan down here, you get some lighting off the building, and pan all the way up here, you got some cloud cover at night. So it's gonna look a little bit gray and maybe a little bit grainy, but we'll pan back down this way. So there you go, quick 4K 60 frames per second footage here at night on the Xiaomi 17 and Galaxy S25. Let me know what you think about the footage here. Alright, so here's a test of the front-facing cameras on the Xiaomi 17 and Galaxy S25. This is being recorded at 4K 60 frames per second. That is the max frame rate and resolution on these front-facing cameras. And first thing you'll notice is that they're both fairly dark here and a bit grainy, and that's going to be true of any 60 frames per footage at low light. So if you want a little bit brighter, a little bit clearer video at night or in any kind of low light, I would suggest going to 30 frames. I'm just trying to keep this all consistent throughout the video here. And I'm in a fairly decently lit situation. You can see all the lights behind me. So this has every opportunity to be looking as good as possible here at night. But I'll just go ahead and start walking so we can test the stabilization. You can see what it looks like here side by side. If we're to move around a bit. And also go over to a bit of a darker area here. So a little bit less light, as you can see, a lot darker here in this spot. And as I pull up here, I'll pan all the way around so you can see what this looks like here, with more bright street lights behind me and shining more directly into those cameras. And the exposure seems to be handling pretty well, although it does get dark, but it's exposing for those lights pretty well actually. And I'll go back here to this area where it's a lot darker, so there's a lot less light here. So you can see what that looks like here side by side. And in the viewfinder, it's looking very dark, very grainy. Color temperature looks very cool and off and grayish on the Samsung, at least in the viewfinder. Still very grainy on the Xiaomi, but color tones are a little bit better. But let me know what you thought about this camera comparison here between the Xiaomi 17 and Galaxy S25, the base models of each of these series, and which one you personally would prefer and rather use on a day-to-day basis. And for me personally, I'd probably go with the Xiaomi, just out of personal preference. I think it's got more filter options, the partnership with Leica, and you're able to dial in more of that kind of Leica look if you want to get that type of a look with your photos. But they're both have some pro features here for not being pro phones. They both support RAW photos, log video. They both have pro modes for a little bit more control while shooting. So overall, a little bit more pro than they would lead on. But let me know what you thought about the comparison and which ones you thought were better. And if you have any questions or comments, drop them down below. I'll always try to answer what I can. And as always, thanks for watching.